Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, where we're on the test server to see the new champions coming this week to the game. I have to say, right at the start, man, coming back to the normal Bastion, kind of depressing, right? After the absolute madness of the 5th anniversary Bastion. This one, we need more. We Bastion customization when raid. Come on, let's make it happen. But let's dive in. We've got a few new champions in here. So let's take a look. The first one we'll look at is just the stats on the Fusion. Astrid Dreamsong. We've already seen her kit. I've got a full video on the channel breaking down my initial thoughts on her kit. We can see her stats here. I said she was a must-build Fusion before seeing these stats, and that's definitely pushing me more so in this direction. 115 base speed is absolutely massive. She is now tied with a few other champions as the fastest champion in the game. I don't think we've got anyone above 115 yet. So she is ridiculously fast. She's got great defensive stats as well. Yeah, her stats are looking really good. So, yeah, I mean, you cannot complain about 115 speed while still being super tanky. Astrid's looking really solid. Let's jump on over to the High Elves then, where we've got a new legendary in Autharion. Wallmaster Autharion, actually. I'm not sure. What I guess he stands on a wall and shoots arrows off of it, like defending. I suppose that's what it is. He is an archer. Looks a bit weird, honestly. He looks kind of like a superhero, right? I don't know. Something about the helmet. He looks a bit like a superhero. Like you could see this guy pop up in like a Marvel or DC movie or something. And I don't know if I like that, but hey, there we go. Base stats are fine, solid, nothing too crazy. Looks like he is a damage dealer. He is attack base, so not really a surprise. Skyfall Arrow is A1, attacks all enemies and doesn't trigger counterattack. Fills turn meter by 5% for each living enemy after the attack. That's actually pretty interesting. That's actually a really good A1, right? Really, really good. AoE A1, that's great. 20% damage from books, that's great. Let's say you've got 4 or 5 living enemies. Let's say 4 living enemies in Hydra. That's a 20% turn meter boost every time you A1s. That's amazing. Let's say you've got 5 living enemies. You're doing wave-based content. That's 25% turn meter if there's enemies still alive. You know, that really adds up. That's a fantastic A1. Oh, enemy max HP. Okay, Falcon Shot. 4 goes to a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies 2 times. Okay. First hit has a 75, goes to 100% chance of putting block buffs for 2 turns. Second hit, 75 to 100% chance of placing decreased attack for 2 turns. Oh, fills his turn meter by 5% for each living enemy after the attack. Oh, wow. Okay, this guy is nuts. This guy is super good. All right, he's insane. We don't even need to see his other abilities. He's insane. A double hit, 3-turn cooldown, AoE, enemy max HP. That is also doing block buffs and decrease attack. That is insanely strong. So yes, he will have some affinity issues for Hydra, but I mean, you could potentially put him in Affinity Breaker, for instance, or something. But that is massive. Number one, he's one of the better actually damage dealers in the game for Hydra. Double hit, enemy max HP, AoE, and a 3-turn. He's one of the best damage dealers for Hydra. Like, he's probably better than Newt, honestly. You got Warmaster with AoEs. It's a double hit AoE, enemy max HP versus Newt, which is a triple hit, but only single target. Newt's is a 4-turn, this is a 3-turn. He's probably way more damage than Newt, honestly. He's getting the turn meter, and he's also your block buff and your decrease attack champion, 2 pretty crucial buffs, for debuffs, I should say, for Hydra. Wow, he is stacked. Forever Marked. Puts increased attack, increased accuracy, and increased speed in this champ for 3 turns, then gives an extra turn. Interesting. Okay. So for general content, I'm actually intrigued by this. So like Acrisia has a thing where Acrisia is like, I think, an attack-based nuker. But then her passive lets her use enemy max HP against most enemies. This guy is both. Maybe his multipliers suck. That's one thing to watch out for. He does buff increased attack, which is interesting. 2 things you can use this for. I think in general content, where maybe the attack multiplier is more important, like you're not fighting enemy max HP, you're fighting, let's say, waves of enemies. Increased attack is going to make him hit way harder. Increased accuracy helps him land his debuffs, and increased speed is just nice. And it's going to help him even cycle through his stuff faster if you want to do that. That is very, very strong, extremely strong. So that's great for Hydra in particular, because he's looking like an insane Hydra champion. You could also build him with high resistance. You could just not bother about attack at all. Just build him with high, well, he doesn't even need high accuracy. He gives himself increased accuracy for 3 turns on a 4 turn. And because this has an extra turn into it, it's basically going to be up all the time. You could just build him with lower accuracy, use the increased accuracy buff to have enough accuracy to land these, and build his resistance high and his crit damage high. The only thing enemy max HP really scales on is enemy max HP and crit damage, and obviously getting a crit. So you just get him with good crit rate, crit damage, and speed, build his resistance up, and he could mischief tank at the same time with all of these buffs. Like, you could easily have a team where you don't have increased attack and increased accuracy. You pretty much always want increased speed for your team, but you might not have these two. He could be a very good mischief tank with a blood shield accessory. Yeah, that's kind of nuts. Super good. No foe too great. Increase this champion's max HP by 20% for each enemy killed or Hydra. What? Whoa, or Hydra head decapitated. Stacks up to 50,000. Wowzers. Holy, okay. We've never seen this before. Someone who actually specifically does something by decapitating Hydra heads, because it doesn't count as killing them. It's more like a mythic form swap when you kill them. It's quite funky. That is crazy. Wow, so he's going to be super tanky as well. This guy looks like he's god tier for Hydra. I am curious. He's just a random legendary added in, and he's an affinity-based one. I would not be shocked to see this guy come in as like a guaranteed or something, and I think he's absolutely worth it if they do that. I think he's really, really good. It's a pity he looks terrible. Give us a skin, please. Like, please, Clarion, I'm begging you. Give us a skin for this champion. I do. He looks so bad, but he is so strong. He's so good. Yeah, you've got potential mischief tanking, self-buffing. You've got one of the best moves in the game for Hydra, even an AoE A1. Nice little passive as well. Yep, this guy's really good. Wallmaster Aaron. Really, really good. Wow. Okay, next up we have Undead Hordes. We have, the mythical. The last faction to get a mythical champion. The Undead Hordes, and they are getting Calamitus, the Calamitus. He doesn't look that, he looks more like the skinny, but there we go, the Calamitus. No, he looks cool. I like the sides. Reminds me a bit of like Diablo, actually. So pretty cool. I was wondering if they do something like ghostly themed for Undead, like Sifi and Rotus, but we've gone for the more skeletal. Let's switch him over to Form 2. His stats don't change. He's attacking both. And he switches into, sort of a skeleton angel thing. That's pretty cool. Reminds me a bit of Thea the Tomb Angel. And switches back. Cool. All right. Let's take a look at his skills. So, Reaping Cull is A1. Double hit. Each hit restores his destroyed max HP equal to the damage inflicted and heals him by 30% of the damage inflicted. Extra turn if he kills an enemy. Okay, that's kind of niche. Restoring destroyed max HP. That's pretty niche, but healing him, potentially a good chunk, extra turn. He seems to be very squishy, so I'm curious if this healing matters or what. Maybe he destroys his own max HP. I don't know. Extra turn if you kill an enemy is pretty good for an A1, though. Horde of Calamity, 3-turn cooldown. Attacks one enemy 4 times. Each hit ignores 10% defense. First hit, block buffs. Second hit, decrease defense. Third hit, weaken. Fourth hit, decrease speed. Wow, so he is that's like Romantu. Is Romantu even the same buffs? Romantu has decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, block buffs. What does this guy do? I gotta remember all these now. Decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, block buffs. Yeah, he's the same. So it's basically Romantu A2, except with 10% defense ignore. And then Romantu does the AoE True Fear if he places all 4. That's interesting. I mean, Romantu's A2 is actually a really big single target nuke. This is likely to absolutely smack. One slight downside is you don't place decreased defense on the first hit, so that's a bit of a bummer. This also means he could be pretty good for Sand Devil, actually, right? Sand Devil does destroy max HP. Sand Devil, you want to place a lot of debuffs. He's going to be potentially pretty good for that. Interesting. Necroclism. All right, I like it. 5 goes to a 4-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies. This attack is always critical. If this attack kills an enemy, puts unkillable on him for 1 turn. If he kills 2 or more enemies, puts unkillable for 2 turns. Okay. Okay, so it's a bit of a longer AoE 4-turn. The always critical thing. So we have champions with this already, and it tends to be honestly pretty useless. Ethos is a great example, right? Ethos A3, this attack is always critical. It doesn't actually mean it's always critical. Maybe they'll do something different with his. I'm kind of confused, actually. I'm honestly very confused. Is there a reason we wouldn't build him? I'm very confused. So, like, it will still be stopped by reaction. And it can still weak hit and stuff. So I'm not sure what the point is. The point of this is you build him without 100% crit rate. And he goes. But as a quick glance, I'm not seeing any way to increase crit rate in his kit. So it doesn't seem like, oh, you know, on his other abilities, you've got increased crit rate. So you could fire off his AoE without that buff and still crit. No, there's nothing like that. It doesn't have, as far as I know, any particular interactions with reaction. This kind of sucks because it's kind of like a thing that has no real benefit. He's an attack-based champion. Like, he's got a crit damage attack. I don't see why you wouldn't. I guess he needs accuracy to do this. I'm very confused. I'm not understanding. But look, if he kills an enemy unkillable for 1 turn, that's decent. If he kills 2 unkillable for 2 turns, I mean, 2-turn unkillable is pretty nice, and he can heal himself up and whatnot. Passive Immortal Creation heals him by 50% max HP at the start of his turn. Attack in all battles, 35%. That's good. I'm not loving this Form 1. I don't know. What do we think about this? It's really weird. You've got the always critical. I don't see the point. Yeah, the unkillable buff is nice. Got a big single target hit, but like, I mean, a Jorgid, for instance, Jorgid seems way stronger for like arena and just nuking in general. Jorgid seems stronger. He's got a lot of self-healing stuff, but he's squishy. I'm very confused. Very confused. What is he for? Lots of single target debuffs. I mean, he's going to be good against bosses, I guess. Let's say a boss that's putting out lots of minions. He can obviously kill the minions, get unkillable. He's got single target debuffs for the boss. Potentially healing himself up as well. Lots of healing. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if they change up Sand Devil, he could be good for Sand Devil. I don't know. Okay, let's go Form 2. Weird. None of his stats change, and his stats are fine, by the way. I'd say there's nothing too crazy. They're just like really solid damage dealer, attack damage dealer stats, but he's not like he's got 1900 attack like Carnage does or anything. Right, let's look at this Form 2. Fell Scythe attacks 1 enemy. After attacking, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. That's nice. If the target's under Hex, before the attack, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target before attacking instead. Okay, that's cool. Has Ignore Resist. All right. Let's see. His A2, Final Testament. 4 goes to a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies. Before attacking, removes all debuffs from this champion. Damage increases by 10% for each debuff on the target. Ignores 20% of each target's defense if they're under Hex. Ooh, okay. That's interesting. Big hitting A2. Termination. 4-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies. Before attacking, puts Hex and decreased defense for 2 turns. Ooh, ignores Life Barrier, Poison Cloud, and Ally Protection. Okay. Because Metamorph, Banquet of Death. Fully heals him every time he kills an enemy under Hex. Also increases his attack by 10% for each enemy under Hex. Seems like a Hydra specialist. I mean, he's ignoring Life Barrier, Poison Cloud. Some Hydra exclusives. Okay. This one is a bit more potential. He's actually reminding me quite a lot of Vulcanen, actually. So, you've an AoE, Hex, and decreased defense. It's a pity this is on a 4-turn, not a 3-turn. But it ignores Life Barrier, Poison Cloud. It does mean you can get some Hex damage onto enemies with Poison Cloud. That's kind of nice. This is obviously super ideal on someone with Burn. But okay. So AoE Hex and decreased defense, those are 2 great debuffs to bring to a team. 2 basically almost essential debuffs, I'd say, for Hydra. And he's bringing that with an AoE attack. Then he's an AoE attack that removes debuffs. So if there's a poison head in there, you can potentially cleanse it off. This is nice. 10% damage for each debuff on the target and 20% defense ignore if they're under Hex. So you got a 3-turn cooldown AoE. Let's say on Hydra, they're easily going to be under 5 debuffs, possibly more. You're not too difficult to get 50% plus increased damage from this. This could hit really hard. Seems mostly for Hydra. Yeah, you're going to ignore 20% defense. You're going to scale up your damage a lot. You're getting potentially, let's say there's 4 Hydra heads under Hex, 40% attack as well. This could potentially smack. His A1 is transferring debuffs across. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, all right. All right, I bet this probably doesn't heal him if he kills somebody under Hex and Hydra. Outside of Hydra, like he's an AoE to decrease defense, and Hex is not super useful outside of Hydra. It's nice. What do we think of the Calamitus? Honestly, initial impressions are pretty underwhelmed. I'm not super... Yeah, I'm pretty underwhelmed. I'm not super sure. I was expecting a lot from the Undead Horde's mythical. This is not exactly it, but we'll see. Like, I'm not entirely sure what his first form is for. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that's for. His second form seems mostly for Hydra, and that could be really good, but you wouldn't really switch to his first form, though. I mean, would you? I don't really think you would. Kind of weird. You just swap him to his second form and leave it. I'm not really seeing the point of the double form mythical, which is what I like. I like a champion like Lady Mikage where you're actually swapping between the forms. I'm not super seeing it here. I don't know. I'm a bit baffled by this one. What do we think about Calamitus? I mean, hopefully he hits really hard against Hydra. Hopefully he hits really hard. But yeah, I feel like it's a bit underwhelming, especially when you got someone like Garol, who absolutely claps Hydra in Form 2, does tons of damage to Hydra in Form 2, but is also an arena beast. The Calamitus doesn't seem to be particularly good for arena. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. I'm pretty whelmed by that. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not sure what to make of it. I'll definitely test him out in Hydra, and we'll see how hard he hits. Then we've got Shadowkit. Ooh! It's another mythical. Okay. The first faction to have 2 mythicals. I guess it's a good one to pick, seeing as Lady Mikage everyone gets. So this is a Shadowkin mythical you could pull. We have Toshiro the Bloody. Oh, he looks sick. Oh, he looks like he walked straight off the Mortal Kombat set. That is amazing. Okay, this might be one of my new favorite champion designs. He switches over. Oh, goes full samurai. Okay, very cool. I like the red glowing sword. That's sick. Super cool samurai. All right, cool. You've got, ooh, the animations. Oh, I can't wait to see this guy in combat. So you've got Super Sick Samurai in Form 1. You've got Mortal Kombat Samurai in Form 1. And Super Sick Samurai in Form 2. Yeah, I think Form 1 is awesome. I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. This is absolutely doing it for me. This is cool. Attack-based champion. He's got massive HP. Solid stats, solid enough stats apart from that. Oh, he does scale off of attack and HP. Oh, interesting. He does both? I am very curious what his multipliers are. Quick draw. Attacks one enemy. 50% chance of attacking another enemy if they're under leech. Also puts perfect veil on him. That's cool. That's a good Hydra A1 right there. That's interesting. Scales off of attack and HP. Sanguine Darts. 3-turn cooldown. Attacks 4 times at random. Oh, people don't like that. People don't like random hits. I don't mind it. Each hit increases his attack and HP by 5% in his base form, up to 100%. So you can get up to 100% bonus attack and HP, and he scales off both. If a target's under leech, his attack and HP are increased by 10% instead. Damage inflicted by this skill increases by 50% for each leech debuff on the enemy team. Okay, this is super sick. Okay, Toshiro the Bloody, all right. He's all like the red and blood themed, and he's scaling with leech. That's really interesting. So potentially good damage with leech. Like, if you have an AoE leech out there, like a Nekmothar or something, he's going to get 40% attack and HP from just one of these moves. That's pretty crazy, and he's probably going to hit pretty hard. Oh, we've got an AoE leech right here. Never mind. Bloody Typhoon, 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies, puts decreased defense and leech. Extra hit on enemies under 2 or more debuffs. Oh, okay, I'm hyped for this guy. This is cool. This could potentially hit pretty hard, right? Extra hit is very easy to trigger, and these extra hit effects tend to hit really hard. Again, I could see this guy being a monster for Hydra, right? Brings decreased defense. Leech is nice to have. He scales up his own damage. He could potentially bring his own perfect veil, which is nice. Lots of extra attacks. That's cool. What's his passive? Vorn Spore's Hunger. Fills his turn meter by 5% every time he attacks a target under leech and does 25% more damage to enemies under leech. Yo, okay, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, he brings his own leech. He scales up. He could be just generally a good boss killer, right? Almost every boss in the game puts out the leech. He can heal up. He will need accuracy to do it, but he's got AoE, brings decreased defense and leech, two really good debuffs for killing bosses. Got extra hits. His A1 can do extra hits. He's got multi-hits here. More damage. Lots of turn meter fill. What's HP in all battles aura? Sick. That's really cool. For arena, I'd say certainly really awkward for arena, right? Because you'd have to land the leech. So yeah, that becomes very awkward for arena, where they can have cleansers or block debuffs or high resistance or stone skin. He seems pretty poor for arena, but for PvE, it's really cool. All right. Interesting Form 1. I'm digging that. Toshiro the Bloody. Let's see Form 2. He switches to a HP champion. 25k. 25k base HP is really high. And the rest of his stats are fine as well. IA cut. I don't know how to say that. EA cut. Attacks all enemies. All right. 50% chance to increase enemy debuffs by 1 turn. I like that a lot. That's great. Again, scales off HP and attack. Interesting. Does it flip them? Okay, yeah. In his base form, it scales off attack and HP. I guess attack is the main multiplier. In Form 2, he scales more off of HP. Okay. I don't think his stacking stuff applies to Form 2. Yeah, he only scales his stuff up for his base form, so he doesn't have any scaling in Form 2. Interesting. Okay. Or, well, at least not from his base form. Let's see, though. Yeah, AoE A1, that can increase enemy debuffs. That's really strong. He could be very strong with counterattack and ally attack and Hydra is what I'm thinking. Drawn in Blood. 4 goes to a 3-turn cooldown. AoE attack. Heals all allies, except this champion, by 10% the damage inflicted. Value of the heal increases by 5% for each leech debuff on the enemy team. I'm curious, does it go from, like, let's say there's Hydra and there's 4 leeches. Does it go from 10% to plus 20 to 30%? Or is it just a 20% increase on the 10%? So you get, what, 12%? I'm not sure. I would have to test that out. The wording's a bit unclear. I mean, he's going to be built for damage, right? So it's an AoE attack that's healing the rest of your team. Okay, cool. Withering Onslaught, 4-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, puts decreased speed and leech for 2 turns, then gives them an extra turn. Okay, nice, nice. So yeah, turn 1, you go AoE decreased speed leech, then an AoE attack that heals your team, and then you're doing AoEs that extend debuffs. Really, really solid. Enrobed in Gore, then, his passive doubles the amount of healing he receives when attacking enemies under leech, and decreases the damage taken from enemies under leech by 50% as well. Okay, wacky, and he's got the same aura. Interesting Form 2. There's not a ton going on in Form 2. But yeah, look, decreased speed leech, then healing everybody up. He's obviously, because he's taking half damage, that's insane. He's taking half damage, and he's healing double from leech, and he's going to be hitting pretty hard. Should be easy enough to keep him alive. He's going to heal your team a lot. He's pretty cool, right? An offensive healer, basically. Heal by doing damage and attacking. And just extending debuffs. Yeah, everything's an AoE. I have to say, I actually like it quite a bit. That's very, very interesting. He's definitely pretty niche, right? But he is an interesting... I much prefer this guy to the other. The Calamitus, he was like questionable. Maybe the Calamitus hits incredibly hard against Hydra. I don't know. But this guy, I like the look of him. I think he's really interesting. I like it. Toshiro the Bloody, he's all about leech debuff. Leech debuff is his best friend. That's cool. That's sick. I initial thoughts are he's certainly not the strongest mythical. I don't think either of these mythicals look to be the strongest. They're not, I think, anywhere near the level of like the arena monsters. I think the arena mythicals are the ones that are more valuable because arena is the hardest area of the game, right? Because you got to compete against people that are spending money. Like, well, or more accurately, you got to compete against people that are spending more money than you, potentially lots more money than you, potentially like thousands or tens of thousands of dollars per month more money than you. That's who you've got to fight against. Well, probably not. You know, matchmaking probably wouldn't put you against the absolute mega krakens, but you got to fight against people that have a very unfair advantage over you in arena. So a mythical to help with that's a big deal. These PvE ones, I do feel like both of these guys are more PvE focused, are more... They're still really fun, but maybe not as impactful. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I like Toshiro, though. I have to say, I like him a lot. I think that's super fun. And there you go. They are the new champions. So we've got, yeah, the fusion, 2 new mythicals. I'm actually surprised. I thought we were just going to get the 1 undead hordes. I guess, honestly, he seems a little bit underwhelming. So I suppose they threw in the 2 because of that. Obviously, this confirms plenty more mythicals are coming. Not really a surprise. I think there's going to be constant influx of them. And maybe the biggest winner, honestly, is Atharion, just the Wallmaster, the ugliest champion by far, by a country landslide added in the patch. He's very ugly, but very, very, very good. And he is one to watch. Yeah, this could easily be fair, could be just a champion added in, but he could be something else. Do we have Sacred Order? We do. Maybe I clicked onto this guy before. We have a Sacred Order. It didn't come up as a red dot. I must have clicked into it on the test server. That's weird. I don't even remember doing that. Balmund Mornsword. We have a faction unity guy as well. I was thinking there was no faction unity. And then, yeah, I was like, I was pretty sure I saw one when I was flicking through. I must have clicked on it by accident when I was like opening up all the factions to get a quick overview of whether we had like the rarities. Oops, we've got a faction unity champion. Sorry, I missed it the first time through. Derp, derp. But yeah, so we do have a faction unity, and they are, it seems, in the factions going in order of the factions. We've got Sacred Order up this time. Falmond Mornsword. He looks cool. He looks like a space marine. Basically, fantasy space marine. He's got the Sacred Order symbol on the floor. That seems to be their thing. Nice. He's an attack-based champion. He's not super fast. At 95, he's quite slow and squishy. Not the best base stats. His aura, ally attack in all battles 30% is great, and crit rate in all battles 15% for Sacred Order. These crit rate ones, you know, for a faction, maybe I don't mind them so much in faction unity. Crit rate auras potentially are extremely strong, but they're awkward to build around because it really locks you into using the aura, and you kind of need then all the champions in the same team. It can be a bit awkward. Faction unity are probably the place where these can be the strongest, but you can be in, like, if you try to bring it into arena and they ban away your faction unity, which they would if you're bringing all Sacred Order in live arena, you know, then you'd be missing crit rate on your nukers. It'd be bad. It does make the faction unity pretty bad, I think, for live arena, but you know, potentially very strong for classic or tag, and potentially strong for PvE. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. Let's take a look at his kit. Mornsword. Hey, it's in the name. Attacks one enemy. Heals him by 50% the damage inflicted. If there's any surplus, he'll put the shield on him for 2 turns equal to the surplus. That's cool. Will attack using Burning Courage skill instead if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance. 25% damage. Corrupted Alliance. That's a big one. Demon Spawn, Undead Hordes, Dark Elves, Knights, Revenants. So you've got, you know, Crixia in there. You've got Ancora, Narses in there. You've got Jorgud. You've got a lot of good ones in there. Dark Elves for, let's say, arena stuff. Not too much. You see a bit of Mithrala, a bit of Fatalis. Actually pretty weak faction for arena, I would say. Not many in there. It's actually surprising. For Undead Hordes, you got Rotus, Sifi, Nekret, Vlad, Lil Miss Annie, Ultimate Death Knight. You've got a lot of arena stuff. In Demon Spawn, Carnage will be in arena constantly, obviously, when people get him. Heimwire is sometimes. Hefrak and Mortu are sometimes. Duchess is very common. Helicath is very common. Enithwe is, and Krutraxa, even Candrafon are sometimes. So you got a lot of arena champions in there. Okay, that's interesting. Where's our boy? Follow me. He's Spirit Affinity, by the way. So he does Burning Courage. Am I his name? Burning Courage. So this is a faction move. Okay, 4-turn cooldown. Yeah, 3-turn when booked. Attacks one enemy. Before attacking, removes all buffs from the target and does 20% damage for each buff removed. Okay, so he does that instead of his default skill. So you get probably a big single target hit buff strip on his A1. That's cool. Does he have anything with accuracy? No, maybe. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Sacred Order Unity. Before attacking, steals all buffs from the target instead. That cannot be resisted. And 20% more damage for each buff stolen. Okay, so the one faction ally makes this insane. You're going up against like Nekrets and Ultimate Death Knight. Every time you do his A1, you will do an irresistible full buff steal and do 20% more damage for each one. That's nuts. That's super good. Obviously, polymorph is a problem, but that's insane. 2 faction allies. Damage inflicted by this skill increases by 20% for each turn taken by an ally or enemy. before this champion's next turn, resets at the end of his turn. So let's say we have 3 teammates go before him. I don't know. I'd say we've got Cardiel goes first. Yeah, maybe Faction's not great. Let's say we've got Cardiel and Siegfried. That's pretty darn strong. And something else. Let's say 3 people go first. He gets 60% extra damage. That seems nuts. Every enemy as well. So if they're taking multiple turns, this is going to hit like a truck. 3 faction allies will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage. Oh boy, we're back. Oh man, we've got the surplus damage attack. Cannot be critical. If the initial target survives, puts a guaranteed true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Yowza. He can do this on every turn? If they're corrupted alliance? Wow, that is very powerful. So this is obviously, in arena, it's very unlikely. In live arena, very unlikely. But I tell you, for some waves in PvE content, obviously he's going to just absolutely obliterate them. For classic and tag arena, though, like if you're going into some of these teams, they're very common arena defense champions. You can put them in with a Sacred Order team like Venus Cupidus and Cardiel or something and absolutely destroy people. Like, that's gross. Especially Cardiel. The ally attack will activate this A1, which will be this insane move. That's nuts. Irresistible buff steal, huge increases on damage, surplus splash damage, guaranteed true fear AoE. He's messed up by polymorph, but that's about it. That's nuts. In Lumaya's name, 30% damage from bucks. 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies. Damage inflicted by the skill increased by 5% for each buff and debuff on the target. Ignores 25% defense on targets that have no buffs. So that's a bit more niche, but again, that's potentially very powerful. Big AoE. It's a bit harder. It's going to be awkward to scale it with debuffs. He also, again, he does combo very well with Venus Cupidus combo, because Venus with a Cupidus can remove all buffs from them and open them up to this guy, which is interesting. So interesting combos within the faction. Okay, that's just a solid enough move. A bit awkward to trigger the extra effects, but it's okay. Till my last breath, the other faction unity stuff. Decrease the damage taken by this champion by 10% for each turn taken by an ally or enemy before his next turn. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. Nukers are rarely the fastest. So, yeah, like if their nuker is faster than you could potentially get massive damage reduction. Now, he's not very tanky, but still. I mean, if you consider a Taurus, it's really hard to kill Taurus because he takes half damage. This is not going to be as strong as like a permanent 50% damage reduction that Taurus has. And Taurus is obviously built with like over 100k HP or something. Usually, like he's usually super. This guy's not going to have that. That's still not bad. That's not bad though. Okay, that's pretty cool. We like defensive passives on nukers. It's a big deal in arena. All right, the faction unity stuff. 1 faction ally fills an ally's turn meter by 2% whenever they place a buff or debuff. Okay, so your buffers especially. Yeah, okay. It's a little bit, but that will add up. Very nice in PvE especially. Decent in arena, more turn meter. 2 faction allies puts revive on death for 1 turn on an ally whenever their HP drops below 50%. Hey, that's cool. Little mini Godseeker type thing. I like that. Okay. 3 faction allies. All allies are immune to cooldown increasing effects. Oh shit. Okay. Whoa, that's a big one. Holy moly. Okay. Immune. This guy's nuts. This guy's really strong. Again, I feel like he's not really a live arena champion at all. I feel like you ban him away and you're not going to have a super strong team. But I tell you, for classic arena and definitely for tag team arena, this guy's an absolute monster. Like, you put him in with the Sacred Order team in tag arena and it's like, yep, we're just immune to lockout. We just hard countered their lockout. And he's reviving us and buffing us up. He's taking less damage. Great. So really strong counter to his speed team, actually. He's giving you speed as well with the turn meter boost. This is probably a bit awkward, the revive on death, but hey, it's something. He's taking less damage. Yeah, making you immune to lockouts insane. Then his A1, he's going to be a hard counter, I think, with this A1. Burning Curse, pretty hard counter to Corrupted Alliance defenses as well. Yeah, so like I use Sifi Lockout all the time. This guy wrecks Sifi Lockout. He's like, yo, Sifi, every time I A1, I'm smashing you with this move. Great. and my team's immune to lockout. That's cool. This guy's nuts. Yeah, he's very cool. So he definitely has a lot of sort of niche things in it. It's interesting. It looks like he's wearing just like almost a pair of runners as well. He's wearing like a pair of Converse down there. That's funny. Yeah, no, he's cool. This guy, he's a monster. Space Marines, be proud. This guy's a beast. I love how the faction unity guy for Sacred Order is basically a Space Marine too. That's very pro. If only this was a chainsword. And he was like, I don't know, 20% wider. This would be top tier. No, he looks really good. So there you go, guys. They are the new champions. Yeah, two interesting, quirky mythicals. Kind of weird mythicals. Definitely not the strongest, I think, but cool. Probably the most easily used. I think he's the most easily used faction unity so far. He's niche, yes, but he's a powerful niche. That's cool. And Falmond, and the fusion looks good. And the high elf archer dude, he's ugly, but he's very strong. There you go. Actually, this is a pretty big deal. Atharian, if you got Fina, this gives you an actual S tier, S plus tier, honestly, Hydra champion and high elves put with Fina. That's pretty nice. There you go. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about all of this stuff, and I'll see you next time. Oh, MTG Jedi, he's there testing. Goodbye.